Hi everyone, welcome to our Programming's ReadR demonstration for the Tidyverse collection of packages. I'm going to go through a few slides here just to give you some background on the ReadR package, and then we'll do some demonstration on running some code for you. So just a little bit of background information on the ReadR package. It is the data import package that allows you to read and write data from various file types. So our focus for this course is going to be the read_CSV function. I did include in this information, the write_CSV function. We're not really going to use that in this class, but I did want to include it just for your information on how to kind of set that up. I will show you a little bit later the cheat sheet that I provided in multiple places throughout the course for you to download, and that's a good resource for you to look at for the ReadR package as well as the other packages that we're going to look at. So for the purposes of this class, the function that we're going to really focus on is the read_CSV function. So you can do the read_CSV with just the file name, and R will attempt to determine whether or not you have column names or no column names. It is best for your purposes to establish whether or not you have column names, or if you want to set them differently later, that's up to you. And so these are the two ways. Remember, in a previous video, I talked a little bit about functions, and we'll get more into those next week. With the functions, there are multiple arguments that you can put in. So the required argument for this particular function is the file name. And then there are a bunch of optional function or arguments that you can include. The only one we're really going to worry about are the column names. You can look at the cheat sheet and see what additional arguments you can include. And if you decide that you want to play around with them or include any of those in your code, feel free. The ones that we're going to need to focus on are the column names one. So if your spreadsheet has, or your CSV file is what it really is, has no column names, you can set that to false. If it does have column names, then you set it to true, and it will automatically, R will automatically determine your first row as your column names. If you would like to set your column names to something else, or if you don't have column names and you'd like to set them as column names, you can do this last one here, which is read_file name, column_names, and then you can put all of the column names that you want. There is another way I'll walk you through how to set column names later in your code if you don't want to do that in the very beginning. So there's multiple ways to do things, just like in most programming languages. So we'll kind of walk through that. So we already learned a little bit about the read.csv function, which is a built-in function for R. And now we have the read_CSV function, which is part of the ReadR package. So what is the difference really? The difference is that the read.csv function, which is built in, brings the file in as a data frame. The ReadR function, which is the read_CSV, brings the file in as a tibble. So think of a tibble as a more modernized data frame. So it takes the data frame to the next level. So we talked a little bit about data frames earlier on. And a general kind of definition is that these tibbles are a little less picky than a data frame. So data frames are very particular and very specific. The tibble is a little bit less picky, and that means that you need to have your data more tidy on the front end, or at least go through the process of tidying it while you're in your code, versus a data frame needs to be a little more tidy for it to function and be able to perform certain tasks. The read_CSV function, which creates a tibble, tends to load a little bit faster than an original data frame for whatever reason. So when you create an object, or you bring in an object, or you're even looking at an object from a different code, you can use this str function to check the summary of an object to determine, is this a data frame or is it a tibble? For the purposes of this class, it's not really important for us. We could use the read.csv function just fine, but I'm going to go through the read_CSV function and teach you how to use that. If you decide that you want to use the other one, there are different functions and different calls in order to set things up. So just be aware when you are setting column names, it's a header instead of a column. So there are some differences in that. So let's go ahead and take a look at, I just want to show you the cheat sheet for the data import. This is the ReadR cheat sheet. Say that 3 times fast. And this just gives you a little bit of information, some of the general functions that come along with the ReadR package. We're not going to get into a ton of these. Like I said, there are some things that if you have an Excel file you want to play around with and bring in, all of the files that we're going to look at are going to be CSV files for this course though. So we're going to focus on that. All right, let's do some coding. All right, so I did do a video already on the install packages. So you're going to do install.packages, and then you have a couple of options here. We're going to be utilizing the full Tidyverse most of the Tidyverse package collection of packages for this course. So if you just want to go ahead and get it out of the way and install the whole Tidyverse collection, you can do that. And you can do that down here in the console. So every time you open up R, it will be installed. Now, if you go and use it on a different computer or you open up your code somewhere else, you'll have to make sure you reinstall this or have it installed, not reinstall. You'll want to make sure this is installed. So you could include it in your code up here as part of your file, and then somebody can run it if they need to. It's totally up to you. But if you put it down here, then you click the install.packages. I'm not going to do that because I already have it installed, and it will just kick back an error for me. So if you don't yet have it installed, go ahead and do that. So what I do want you to do in your code is include whatever packages you're going to use in your code, in your actual code up here in your script you're going to send me. So the reason I want to do that is just in case you decide to expand outside of it, I want to make sure that I have whatever packages you are working on. So again, we could do it multiple ways. I could call in the entire Tidyverse collection, and that solves my problem for future assignments where I may be using multiple packages, or I can call in whatever package I'm going to use. So for this particular exercise, I'm only using the ReadR package, so I'm going to go ahead and call that by itself. Like I said, if you're practicing and you want to just call in all of Tidyverse, perfect, do that. Then you have all of the packages that we're going to be utilizing for this course. Okay, so let's get started. So first, let's comment our code. We should have commented that we were bringing in the library ReadR, but I wanted to give you kind of the options. So now from here, we're going to read the CSV. And I'm going to do a couple of examples so that you can understand some of the limitations with just copying your path. So I'm going to do, I have a file that's called streetlight data, and I am going to bring that in for you. So I'm going to use the read_CSV, and I'm going to copy my path just as it is right off the file. And I want you to see what the problem might be. So if you are working in a Windows computer, there is an issue that I'm going to run into. So it is telling me, let's make this bigger. It is telling me there is an issue with an unrecognized escape. So R uses this slash for something else. So there's a couple of things that we can do. So I could delete this and I could put all of these slashes going the other way. And then I can run it. Let me make sure that I ran this. I did run it. It's down there. And then I can run it, and now it comes up over here. So this is a good indicator that my data has come in, and now I can see it over here. The other option is if I just copy and paste it the normal way, you can do it this way. So I can add 2. So I can go through and add an extra backslash. So you want to just make sure that you are bringing it in correctly. Okay. So now I have my data, and I didn't bring anything in. I didn't tell it whether or not I have column names or anything like that. And it still read it. So let's look at, remember I showed you the head function. So we're going to do that, and we will see, we'll get some information about my file. Okay, so it pulled these column names directly from my file here. So date periods, zone name, day type, average daily zone traffic, average daily zone traffic. So if you could see the rest of this, I'll open it up over here. It's vehicle, then bike, and then pedestrian. Okay, so that is bringing the file in and not indicating whether or not I have column names or not. Let's see. I am going to do another example where I copy this in. So let's do. So let's do street light. Let's do this. Comment, read, street light, data with no column names. So I have another file that is another version of my streetlight data. So this one had some column names already in it. So we are going to do streetlight 2. And I'm going to do, again, read underscore CSV. And then I'm going to copy all of this again. Except I'm going to change this to, let me look at this 2. So this is a different file where I removed this, the column names. Okay, so we're going to bring that in. And I want to set column names to false. So I'm going to do this column names equal false. So now let's run that. I have no column names here. So if I open this one, I should have 0 column names. So what R does, it gives it an arbitrary number, or label, if you will. X1, X2, X3, X4, X5, X6, X7. Nothing crazy. So it just decides that it's going to give you column names. So that file has no column names. Okay, so let's take a look at how do we set these column names. So there's 2 different ways that you can do it using this particular function. So I'm going to copy this all again, just to make it easy. And I'm going to do set column names using column names equals. Okay, so I am going to set my column names. So I'm going to name this 3. So now I have another one, although I could just do 2 and I could keep replacing it. And then I'm going to look at my first one. So then I'm going to set my column names. I'm going to go equals C, because remember I need to use the concatenate function whenever I'm creating a list of something. So I am going to open up my spreadsheet, and I'm going to change them a little bit because I don't like the names of it. So my first one is going to be in parentheses, date underscore range. And then I'm going to do zone underscore name. And then I'm going to do day underscore type. And then I'm going to do, let's look at it, make sure I got the right ones. So average daily traffic. So average daily vehicle. And then I will do average daily bike. And then average daily head. And then I will do all traffic. So let's make sure that we have that right. So average vehicle, average bike, average pet, and average traffic. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to do that and I'm going to see what it says when I run this. So now my streetlight 3 is here, and now all of those column names that I have called it are there. So average daily vehicle, average daily bike, average daily pet, and all traffic. Okay, so they are all there, ready to go. So that is one way I can set my column names. So I can do it all as part of what I brought in. That's not always something. That's not necessarily the way that I like to do it usually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this streetlight 2 where I named it false, and I'm going to call in. So I'm going to set column names for street light 2. So I'm going to call streetlight 2 for my column names here. So this is another function that we're going to use. So column names, and then I'm going to call streetlight 2 and see how R automatically picks my variables for me. So streetlight 2 equals what? And so I'm going to do C, and I'm just going to copy all of those column names so I don't have to type them again. But we will do, if it'll let me copy them. So I will copy these and I'm going to paste them down here. So now I have set these column names for, and I got an extra one here. And an extra one here somehow. Okay, so now I have set my column names for streetlight 2. So let's see if that worked. So now column names, streetlight 2, that should now have column names. Perfect. So that did exactly what I wanted it to do. So those are the two ways that you can set your column names. You could do it all as part of your bringing in your CSV here, or you can set it later down here. Now, one last thing that I want to show you is the other function, which is the read.csv. Let's do import using read.csv. Okay, so this is not really that much different, but we are going to do, let's do streetlight 4. And we're going to do read.csv, and we're going to kind of look at the differences here. So I'm going to bring this in again. Actually, let's do this one because I'm going to set my headers equal to false. So in order to, so instead of column names here, I say false. Header equals false. So it's header, not column names. So we're going to run that. Now we have a streetlight 4. It looks virtually the same. It has named those columns. I can name the columns exactly the same way. So I'll copy this and I'll show you how to do that. So we'll name the columns for street light 4 exactly the same way. And now it will run, and street light 4 will now have all of those column names as well. So you can bring it in either of these two ways, but I am showing you how to do it this way for a purpose. So let's look at, this won't mean a whole lot for our purposes, but there is a difference between a tibble and a data frame. Difference between street light, let's say 3, and street light 4. So we're gonna look at some information. So remember I said that you can do the string function, and you can see street light. So we're gonna look at 3 first. We'll run that and see what it tells us. So this is the information. So it is a tibble. It will tell us kind of a summary of everything. Okay, now we will do the same thing for street light 4. We'll run that. And now we are in a data frame. So just for your awareness that these are two different data types. So we talked a little bit about that, and there are limitations on what you can do with a data type that is a data frame. There's also limitations on what you can do with a tibble because it expects it to be cleaner. So if you choose to use the data frame version, the built-in function, just recognize that a lot of what we're going to do is built off of the import of the ReadR function. So it's not a huge deal. You shouldn't have any major issues or anything like that, but you may not be able to perform the same functions with your data frame that you need to in the class. So there may be some errors that you get trying to create a user-defined function and various things like that. So just want you to be aware of that. All right, that is all I have for the ReadR function, and we will see you in the next video.